Ye Mahabharatam Advaita Vidya Bhagavatim Ashtadashatyayini Ambatva Manasandhatami Bhagavati Devadveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Vrutte Pularapindaya Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharatataya Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pratikaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vegaika Parmaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Tuhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavaha Doda Gopala Vandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Prokta Duktam Gitam Ritam Mahata Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishma Drona Tata Jaya Prakatala Gandharayotala Shalya Grahavati Kripena Vamani Kanena Velakula Ashvatthama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Kalupandavairanadi Kaivartaka Keshavaha Parasharya Vachasarojamamalam Gitarthagandhotkatam Nanapyanakatesharam Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpadairaharaha Pipiyamanam Muda Bhuyadvarata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsi Nashreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidussura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Try the first chapter. Ata pratamodhyayaha Dvita Dhritarashtranuvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Yudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharyamahatim Jamu Vyudham Drupadaputrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The Buddhi is the Guru. This is what? The Buddhi is Krishna. Buddhi is the Guru, then why are we here? Why do we need to learn? And what is the operation of the means of knowledge? This is the question that can be asked. Well, even though we say the words of the Shastra are a means of knowledge, the words of the Shastra are internalized in the form of a thought, a vritti. Yeah. So the vritti is the pramana ultimately. Yeah, but the proper vritti guided and directed vritti, and that is the function of the teaching. The teaching is the pramana because it guides the thought process, and a buddhi that is lightened of the raga and the dvesha turns around and teaches the I notion. What is the I notion? I full of notions, correct. Ahankara. It teaches the ahankara, the I notion, what is what. It removes the ignorance. So this is the imagery with which the Bhagavad Gita opens by the end of the first chapter. You have this scenario. But what happens in the beginning? Lots of things happen. The battle is declared, and many people tried to stop the battle. Vidura's another brother of Pandu and Dhritarashtra tried to stop the battle. No. Krishna tried to stop the battle. No. Even Vyasa went to Dhritarashtra and said, let's not have this, because I don't want to sit and write this Mahabharata. Don't fight, y'all. And nobody listened, And then Vyasa finally, said that he's going to pray that Dhritarashtra gets some special sight to see everything because of Vyasa's prayers. And Dhritarashtra, he was kind-hearted but misplaced priorities. He said, I can't stand to see all the blood and the gore. But I want to know what's happening. I want to know who died. So just give me a transistor. So Vyasa's prayers blessed the friend who was staying behind. Everybody was at war. But someone who is blind cannot go to war. So Dhritarashtra sat in the palace with his companion Sanjaya. And Sanjaya, the minister or companion, whoever he was blessed with this sight, thanks to Vyasa's prayers. And he was gifted with television. And he could see everything. And in fact, he is the narrator. First of all, Vyasa is the narrator. Then you have Dhritarashtra sitting in front of the television, who is Sanjaya. And Sanjaya is narrating everything as though he is seeing it. A running commentary. Oh, what happened? Oh, no. This one's going there. Oh, that one is getting bashed up. This one is running behind that one. Sanjaya is seeing it all in real time. This is the fun part. And that's why all these yugas, we have television, kind of a television scenario in Mahabharata. We have, what is that in the Ramayana? Pushpaka. Yes. An expandable plane. Yeah. First, when this bad boy abducts Mother Sita and takes her away to Sri Lanka, it was a two-seater. Only him and her. Of course, she was gagged and bound. But, him being an Asura thought it was the first date. Because that's how they get married. This is called the Asura kind of... There are 8 kinds of marriages in the Hindu tradition. And this Asuri Vivaha means you just grab what you like by the hair and drag it to your house. And then you have a ceremony. You just call other friend Asuras and you have wine, women and song. Yeah, woman is already there. You have wine and song. And it is a recognized form of marriage. Yeah. And in fact, this, how do we know this was recognized I'm going all over the place, but it's fun. So, how do we know it is recognized? Because Ramayana mentions it, Mahabharata mentions it. Subhadra. Who is Subhadra? Krishna's sister. Krishna's sister was by mistake engaged to one of the Kaurava brothers. Yeah, and Krishna couldn't sleep at night. Oh my God, my poor sister is going to marry this, idiot. So he calls Arjuna and says, kidnap her in the Asura style. You have my blessings. And she's always loved you. She always likes you. She doesn't look upon you unfavorably. And she's not happy with this engagement. She'll be very happily be kidnapped by you. So basically just abduct her. This is what he does, and Krishna sends her on a proverbial flower picking picnic. And then she thinks she's going berry picking or flower picking for some function to make malas. And Arjuna comes from behind the bushes, takes her away and gets married. This is, So why are we talking about this Pushpaka? So Ravana thought this was a first date and he carried off who? Sita. And in fact, this wedding is recognized even in modern day Sri Lanka. They have their own Ramayana. And their Ramayana says that Sita was always in love with this 10-headed fellow. And this stupid Rama came in the middle. So they have Ravana Sita bridge, correct? Yeah, they have Ravana Sita park. When I went there, I was very entertained. I said, oh, so many Ramayanas, so little time. They have their own version. So anyhow, Pushpaka was two-seater, and then when they came back, now they had to make an extra seat for who? Lakshmana was there, and the Vanara was there, Hanuman, and Hanuman never did anything by himself. He wanted everyone else to have a ride. And they were too scared to come and settle in Ayodhya, because then the local Ayodhya Vanaras would not be happy. There would be a Vanara war. And so Hanumanji said, can we just go for a ride on the ocean? I want to bring a few of my friends in this plane, And the plane expanded to become a 15-seater. So 12 of his friends, Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, they just drove the Pushpaka plane around, and the monkeys all said, "We had a good time," and then they were dropped off, and then then it became it's a collapsible plane, doesn't use too much fuel, and so like this, all these technologies we see, and which puts all this iPad and all to shame. So you have television without the screen. Sanjaya's mind is the screen. And so Sanjaya is actually really worshipped in the tradition because he saw everything. He got the Gita first hand. Even as Arjuna was getting the Upadesha, the teaching, Sanjaya is being taught. So he is the narrator, correct? So if he is the narrator, the Sutradhara, the Gita should begin with Sanjaya Uvacha, correct? But what does it begin with? Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Hello. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamakav Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Well, the argument is that it begins with Dhritarashtra Uvacha because after all, for Sanjaya to narrate, he should have a question. Somebody should ask, what's happening? Then he will start to narrate. And that too, if you're talking in front of a king, you should not talk out of turn. So the king should address first, correct? So this is one kind of a logical explanation. But then there is a deeper explanation because this is the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Vyasa's prayer. This is a prayer. Because there is no prayer. Oh, but what about the Dhyana Shlokas? Dhyana Shlokas came afterwards. And Dhyana Shloka praised Vyasa to the skies. If Vyasa was writing the Dhyana Shloka, then nobody would read the book. So Dhyana Shloka means what? The shlokas designed to center the mind and motivate one for study was an interpolation afterwards. So the Gita doesn't begin with a prayer. Where is the prayer? There is no prayer. So in the ancient times, if there was no prayer, it wasn't worth reading. But you see, we are only looking for prayers like in the beginning of Panchadashi, Namashri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane, or Tattva Bodha. How does the Tattva Bodha prayer go? Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate. Yeah, and then Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. What is the prayer? What prayer is that? So everything, those are the only kinds of prayers we have known. We don't know that there can be very clever and covert prayers like Vriddhiradaich. What? Come again? It's a prayer. It's the first Paninian Sutra. It's a prayer. Vriddhi is a technical term for the second level strengthening of vowels into diphthongs. Into the farthest diphthongs that you can stretch out with this human voice acoustics. When becomes, when E becomes A, it is called guna, the terminology. When A becomes I, it is called vriddhi. Vriddhirat aich. It means may A and I, And the vriddhi, known as vriddhi letters, this is what it really means. But it's also a covert, implied prayer. Vriddhi means abundance, excess. May this work have, growth. It also means growth. May this work grow. Obviously the prayer was successful. Yeah, we are still, battling with the sutras after so many thousands of years. So obviously the prayer was successful. So the prayer can be covert or overt, stated or implied. So that's why it begins with Dhritarashtra Uvacha, because it's an implied prayer. One is the king, the local Dhritarashtra, the blind king said. And then who else is Dhritarashtra? Dhritam Rashtram Yena. By whom this whole Jagat is sustained. Dhri, to sustain. Who is that? The non-local Dhritarashtra, the truth of you. Local Dhritarashtra cannot even manage his own sons, which is why they are over there and he is sitting and crying here. Yeah. The one who manages the 1,000 suns, S-U-N, in the galaxies, the one out of whom all has come, as it were, everything is sustained, as though everything resolves in whom? The word Rashtra actually has its origins in the Mahabharata after Shri Sukta. Shri Sukta, the words, Pradurbhutosmi Rashtresmin Kirtim Riddhim Dadatu Me. And I'm born in this land, it just means land. But so right after the Vedas, it's not a word that's used often. And you see this in the middle of the Mahabharata in the name Dhritarashtra. Rashtra doesn't mean just a country or a nation. It means a field of control. So Rashtra means the whole universe here, because the one who holds the whole universe. This is what Dhritarashtra is. Veda Vyasa's nod to Bhagavan. That's why it doesn't begin with Sanjaya Uvacha. Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Uvacha means what? Said. When? When did he say? Long time ago. Yeah. Uvacha, Babhuva. Yeah. This is called Parokshe lit. Means it lights up events from a long time ago. Yeah, Paroksha, so far away. Lit is the grammatical term for the tense. Uvacha, from which by some miracle becomes uch, called samprasaranam. Va becomes u, e becomes ya, all these things. And then there is another reverse samprasaranam, which makes you wonder why the samprasaranam then to reverse it in the first place. Never mind. This is not, thankfully, a Panini class. And so, Uvacha said when? Long, long ago, once upon a time. Dhritarashtra said. Alright, what did he say? Dharma kshetre. And okay, mind you, this whole Bhagavad Gita, which is the Upadesha from? Yes. So, which is an Upadesha, a teaching, was not necessarily that Krishna stood there and took the peacock feather out of his thing and started to compose in verse. He may have taught in prose. Vyasa has put it in this meter for ease of memorization and understanding. That's all. So don't think that people in ancient India spoke in this sing-song way. It will be fun if we started to compose sentences in this Anushtup meter, Wonder what that will sound like. So, you want to have a go? No? Okay. So, yeah, so then, na 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 na, Na na na, shall we go for a walk? I don't think so, if it's too hot. La 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 la. Like this it will sound, So nobody talked like that in ancient India or modern India. It's just that this is Vyasa's way of expressing what was taught. It was probably in prose, it could have been in a mixture, we don't know. So don't think that this is how everyone talked in Uvacha times. No. So what did he say? Dharma kshetre, in this land which is given to dharma, because that is what India is all about. Was. Babhuva. So this is the truth of the culture, this is the truth of the teaching. And even as early as, even as late as 1835, when that Macaulay went, he found that if somebody had dropped a bag of coins, gold coins, by the road, in the middle of the road, while traveling in a cart, horse cart or something, it would lie there for 10 days without anyone touching it. At the most, people would put it to the side of the road. This was India in 1835. And he was very worried. He said, we want to corrupt these people, because that is how we have to rule over them. They have this, he said, they have this devilish sense of honesty, and they have this very annoying sense of dharma. He didn't call it that. They want to do things rightly all the time, and they are tethered to these values. He found them very tethered to the values, and it was very hard to break. And he said, the only way their will can be broken, said the Lord Macaulay of dubious esteem, is if you corrupt them by making them feel inferior, by bringing in and flaunting a British language and education as superior and beyond them. That's the only way you can break them. You have to divest them from their religion, which is their culture and which is the cause of all their morals. He said that. That's why Dhritarashtra is calling it Dharma Kshetra, because the colonization experience is a very big rupture from one's moorings. And so even though it's questionable whether India is still Dharma Kshetra, it is Dharma Kshetra in one sense. In the sense it is the land where dharma, we learn to value, whose culture, whose treasure, whose knowledge is all about valuing dharma. That is how it is Dharma Kshetra now. But also, since dharma is the first purushartha, what is purushartha? Pursuit. First pursuit is dharma. Even if you say, I don't want to be dharmic, you want other people to be dharmic towards you, correct? Yeah, indirectly it becomes a pursuit. And so therefore, the first pursuit is dharma. And kshetra means field. So this field of dharma, or the field in which there are many opportunities to be dharmic. Yeah, that is at any time. Dharma kshetra. And also metaphorically the body. And what is the Dharma Kshetra? Which is Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra, in the sacred land called Kurukshetra, called Bharatavarsha, called India, where this battle is being fought. Dharma Kshetra. India is the land of dharma. So in this land of dharma, and in this war of dharma and adharma, he knew that also. And whether the battle is raging within or without, it is still a kshetra for dharma. A kshetra where dharma is fought over. Another karmani shashti you can take. Another derivation. So dharma kshetre, which is what? Kurukshetre. Which case? Seventh case. Very good. Dharma kshetre, Kurukshetre, in this battlefield called Kurukshetra, which is in the land of dharma, which is the land where dharma is expressed, which is the waging ground where this battle of dharma and adharma are going to be expressed, and it's a war of dharma. So many interpretations. Samavetaha, who have come together, assembled together, collected together. Who? Yuyutsavaha. Yuyutsavaha means Yodhum ichu. Yodhum ichavaha. So yodhum means to fight. It's a gerund. Yodhum, to fight. Ichu means desirous of fighting. Yuyutsavaha, it's a desiderative yuyutsa, like mumuksha, jignasa. Jignasa means what? Desire to know. Mumuksha? Desire for moksha. Bhubuksha? Desire to eat. Pipasa? Desire to drink. Yeah. See, you can recognize them now? Yeah. Yuyutsa, desire to fight. Yuyutsavaha, yuyutsu, desirous, the one who is desirous of fighting. When it's sa, it's desirous to fight. When it is suhu, the one is desirous of fighting. And then yuyutsu, like guru, guravaha, yuyutsavaha. Yuyutsavaha means what? Those that are assembled, samavetaha yuyutsavaha, the assembled war-mongering types. These assembled bloodthirsty fellows. Those who are desirous of fire, fighting, have to be, reined in with a leash. They are raring to go. These yuyutsavas. And who are these yuyutsavas? Quickly here there is a distinction. Mamakaha. Mamakaha means what? My people. My fellows. Pandavahaja. And those Pandavas. Pandu's sons. And their allies. And my people. Kimakurvata. What are they doing now? Hey Sanjaya. Oh Sanjaya. What are they doing? Please report. You see, in this question itself is laden with, the problem which has brought about this war. Me, mine. And Dhritarashtra, who was there in the palace from a young, from when all the children were young, everybody played in his lap. The Pandavas brothers would have also played in his lap. But now they have become the other. But Pandu's children also must have played in the lap. But as long as the going was good, oh yes, you're an elder and I'm like your uncle and I'm like your father, because you no longer have a father. And the Pandavas treated him very well. They kept him so nicely, they made him the head of every decision. And they treated him with such respect, and they worshipped him. Him and Mother Gandhari, they were always taking their blessings to go off on any expedition. And they worshipped. All the 5 brothers were very, very well schooled and had great values, and they worshipped them as their own parents. And now this fellow sitting in the palace, Mamakaha. And here already they have been othered. Yeah. Even though it's his son's fault. And he should have said, idiots, stop this war. I order you. But he sat passively, didn't say a word. Didn't say a word when Draupadi was, assaulted. And people tried to disrobe her. Did not say a thing. Did not say a word when they were sent to exile. Don't do this. Forgive them. Let them stay here. Didn't say a word when he heard that his wonderful son with his wonderful brain had made a house of wax and lured them in to be burned. He heard this, he knew this. Went into maunam, silence. Passive, fearful, selfish. And you see, it's one thing to not want conflict. Nobody wants conflict. You take a poll. Hello, one and all. Please raise your hands, those who want conflict. Who's going to raise their hands? No one. they're all going to say, no, we don't want conflict. It's one thing to not want conflict, but it's one thing to keep quiet whenever there is injustice all the time. You know, when there is something not right, you know, you speak up, unless you're a sadhu. You know, then you have the choice of speaking up or not. But generally speaking, if you're in the world and you see that you could prevent this, you can see that there is some intervention that could be helpful here, and especially if it's the injustice is being perpetrated by the people who are connected to you, like your own children, over whom you should have some say, some discipline. And here all that time he just sat. What do I know? What do I care? These things happen in the world. This is how he was. And now suddenly the bug of me and mine seems to have got hold of him and not leaving it, not leaving his nose. He's bugged by this, you know, like something catching hold of the nose. The bug of me and mine is, that's why he cannot see anything in front of his nose except me, mine, my people. That's all it is. Mamakaha kim akurvata. What did they do? Pandavaha cha kim akurvata. This is how the Bhagavad Gita opens. Of course, we all want to know what they did. So therefore we'll go to the next verse. Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanikam vyudhan duryodhanastada acharyamupasangamya raja vachanamabravit drishtva, having seen, tu, indeed, or tu, thereafter, either way you can say, just a particle. So indeed or thereafter, having seen what? Pandavanam anikam. Pandavanikam. Anika means army, military. Anika, army. Vyudham, from to form. Also means to conjecture, but here that's not the meaning. To move jointly. V plus plus kta, past passive participle. Vyudham. Vyudham means in formation. And that's vyuha, vyudham. Vyuha means formation. Vyudham means in formation, having formed the army. And what are these formations? Even in Rome, in ancient Rome they had. Suddenly they would form a square. Suddenly they would form a spiral. Suddenly they would form a triangle and charge. You know, these are called vyuhas. So even in ancient India, which was very, this Dhanur Vidya was one of the smaller Vedas. And there it is talked about. This talks about various war formations, very intricate. That is what Abhimanyu heard half of. And Arjuna's son, while still in the womb, mother went to sleep, he kicked and tried to wake her up, but he learned how to go in but not come out. This was what the problem was. That's how he dies, trapped in this formation. So this vyuha means formation. Vyudham, readily formed in formation, past passive participle of formation. So Pandavanam anikam vyudham drishtva, having seen this is he's being objective. He's not saying a lot of things, because as a reporter you have to be objective. But afterwards we'll find out what really this is all about. Having seen, he says, the formation of the Pandava army, Then what else? Having seen what else? And then Duryodhana. Tada. Then, having seen his opponent's army, because this was all about inspecting each other, checking each other's army out. Oh, I have to fight with these many people. Oh, those are not mountains. Those are more people. Oh, because you have to strategize in the battle and see. So he took stock of the Pandavas' retinue, of all the soldiers and everything. Who? What is the subject of this sentence? Raja. Raja. Raja by, yeah, it's not by democratic vote. He was not, no one in their right mind will elect Duryodhana as the king. This was a usurped Raja, an encroacher, a terrorist. But then why is Sanjaya calling him Raja? I told you, as a reporter, he's objective. And right now, good or bad, he is the reigning king. Is he not? Say yes. Yes. So therefore, he is Raja. So Raja, having seen who is Raja? Duryodhana. He unpacks the word Raja. Don't look anywhere else. I am indeed talking about this Duryodhana. So what did Duryodhana do? Drishtva Pandavanam anekam drishtva. Anekam vyudham cha drishtva. Tada Duryodhana, Raja Duryodhana. Then what? Vachanam abravit. Spoke these following words. When did he speak these words? Having approached the teacher. Acharyam upasangamya. Oh, this Duryodhana has also taken to a life of Vedanta. I'm confused now. I thought Arjuna came to the knowledge. And Arjuna said to Krishna, you are my teacher, please teach me. Now, so many acharyas, so many approaches. Then Upani, this Upani of the Upanishad, Samipe, going towards having approached the Acharya. And in the morning we saw what Acharya is. So having approached the Acharya, said the following words. And what would the following words be? Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma. No. So which Acharya are we talking about? Dronacharya. Drona was their teacher in archery. And stupid fellow was very greedy. He wanted always to be, he was a great scholar. And actually, it was not his swadharma to teach archery at all. He shouldn't have done that. It cost him. But some kind of greed, wanting some status, name, power, pelf. What is pelf? We always say power and pelf. Wealth? Yeah.
Cattle?
Something must
Horses.
be. Yeah, look it up later. So, because he wanted pelf and power. Some old English, power and pelf. And so, because of that, he got waylaid by this and became a teacher of archery. But he was ubhaya bhrashta, neither a brahmana nor a kshatriya. And he wanted to be famous like the kshatriyas, but he wanted all the reverence given to the brahmana. Confused fellow. Yeah. You can't have, your 2 feet in 2 boats going in opposite directions. You'll be quartered. Or you will fall in the water or both. So therefore, he wants to be called Acharya. He was insisting that my name is Dronacharya. He's wanting to be called Acharya. And so everybody respects him as Acharya, but not Acharya of Vedanta. Acharya of what? Archaridanta. So this is what he's teaching is archery. And he taught the Pandava princes too. But how come he ended up on the other side? Yeah, apple polishing, succumbed to Duryodhana. Duryodhana could be a sweet talker. He was like, oh, Without you, what would we be? We would be on the road in a cardboard box. You are our savior. You know how much you saved us. You know without you we wouldn't be anything. And he was just a touchy-feely fellow. And you see him patting everyone's backs in the Mahabharata, holding people's hands, kissing their fingers and hugging them. And somehow he would make you feel like you were the cat's cream and you were the best thing in the whole world. Even before sliced bread, you were you were the best thing. And so how can you resist anybody? Because this is a soft spot psychologically for everyone. Everyone wants to be noticed, everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants to be approved. And Duryodhana, along with all the astras that he deployed, this astra of flattery, he had mastered. MAF. Not Master of Fine Arts, Master of Flattery. Yeah. He had a master's degree in flattery. And Drona was always insecure. And this one fanned that insecurity by flattering him. That is one way of fanning. Because the more you hear, the more you want to hear and you become a slave to that. And another way of fanning is by saying that one is bad-mouthing you. See, I was just going there to the market to buy some prehistoric avocados, and then what happened is I heard some people talking about you. Oh, what were they saying? Chodo, let's not talk about that. Because simply your mind will just, get spoiled. No, I want to hear. If somebody said anything to me, in friendly market, I want to hear. It was just a very unfriendly thing to say. Probably they didn't mean it. No, because now by this time the whole person is engaged. The person leans forward and says, no, please tell. No, well, it will just create some problems between you and them. No, I will not tell. You tell me. And then, all right, if you insist. So he knew how to play this game. And he had made Duryodhana into a vassal, into some person, into a gopher. He would throw and say, Rover, bring it back. Rover Acharya, bring it back. And this is what he would do. He was just ruthless where Duryodhana was concerned. And he tells also that this Duryodhana is so easy, he eats out of my hand like a puppy, he says. Yeah, Duryodhana says, Drona, don't worry about it. He eats out of my hand. He may be a lion elsewhere, but he eats out of my hand. So this is what he says. So this is one more way in which he hooks him. How? Acharyam upasangamya. He goes to the Acharya and says, well, look at their army, it's not worth looking at. He's going to say this. But he's going to say it with finesse and sarcasm. But this is what is confusing to me. You as the main warrior, you should consult with the commander-in-chief. Drona is not the commander-in-chief. Who was the commander-in-chief? Bhishma was the commander-in-chief. He should have gone to Bhishma and said, Atra shuraha maheshvasaha vimarjuna samadviti. All this yudhanascha, viratascha, all this narapungavaha, drishtaketuhu, chekitanaha, all these people he is listing as the kings on the other side. He should have gone and taken stock and had a meeting with the commander-in-chief. But instead what does he do? He bypasses the commander-in-chief and goes to the insecure, within brackets, Acharya. Why? To flatter him. Because the Drona had a soft spot after all for the Pandavas, because he had seen them since babyhood, taught them, and had a lot of love for them. But here what happened? So that he doesn't remember that. And what if he's overcome with some emotional feeling of seeing the Pandavas on the other side, and what if he calls off the war? Or worse, what if he takes himself and another warrior, his son Ashwathama, and pulls out of the war? So many things can happen. What if he says, after all, I'm old and Rishikesh is not too far and I'll go there and retire and I'll become a sannyasi? Oh, no, he's not leaving that to chance. So he goes to foment him, massage his insecurity and make it all okay. And he says, look, after all, you are my teacher in archery. Who else will I approach? Bless me for this war. Oh, ha ha. Drona is all happy now. But sinking into slavery and losing his mind, his viveka. Mind means viveka here. So he goes to hobnob with Dronacharya, the teacher of archery, who has mistakenly come on this side. And Acharyam Upasangamya, having gone and approached the Acharya, not for teaching of Brahma Vidya, mind you, because that's the only Acharya approach the Vedantins know. So they shouldn't be confused. That's why I'm explaining this. Don't think the next verse is going to say Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma. It's not. So then, Acharyam Upasangamya, having approached who? The Acharya, Raja Duryodhanaha, Vachanam, these sentences, or one sentence, Abravit. Vachanam here means words. Abravit, talked, said. And then the next one should be Duryodhana Uvacha. Right?
No.
Why not?
His report.
So what? But Duryodhana said he could be there. Vyasa will not let Duryodhana speak in the first person. To give him airtime in any way, shape or form is to uphold adharma even at the level of the book and the teaching. No. Vyasa will not give him airtime, not where the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is concerned. So Sanjaya again reports. Yeah. But Sanjaya reports in the first person without the name of the speaker. It is understood that this idiot is talking. What does he say? Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Vyudham Drupada Putrena
Vyudham Drupada Putrena
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Yeah. So, hey Acharya, vocative, O teacher, Pashya, look. What, look at what? Mahatim Chamum, that is the object of Pashya. Mahatim Chamum Pushya, Pashya. Look at this big, great, Chamum is army. Chamu is army. Mahatim Chamum, this big army, and in its various formations. Vyudham. Please look at this huge army along with its complicated formations. Whose army? Pandu Putranam Mahatim Chamum. Pandu Putranam, of the sons of Pandu. Please look at this huge army of the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu. And then what else about this? In formation. And who is it led by? It is led by the son of Drupada, son of the king of Drupada. What was his name? Drishtadyumna, brother, I think, of Draupadi, correct? Yeah, Draupadi's brother is leading this army of the Pandavas, and Drishtadyumna himself was a student of this Drona. So he is fomenting the security and also the anger. Look at your brilliant Dhimata Drupada Putrena. Look at this brilliant son of Drupada, king of Draupadi, brother-in-law of the Pandavas. Look at this fellow, so brilliant, within sarcastic sort of voice, so brilliant, a disciple of who? You only. Look at what he is doing. He should be with you if he thought of you as the teacher. Just like I approached you first, even before going to Bhishma, who is Pitamaha, who is the granddaddy and who is the grandsire of the whole thing and who is the commander-in-chief. I didn't approach him. I approached you. And see how much respect I have for you. And see how disrespectful he is. So that he has gone to the other side. He has insulted you and rubbed your nose in this very Kurukshetra dust by deserting us and going over to the other side, and he is actually your student. Your brilliant student, look at what he has done. So your brilliant student is how? Very sarcastic. This is how Duryodhana speaks. Yeah, unfortunately. So he says, look at this vast battle formation along with the armies and the various intricate vyuhas of the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, led by the brilliant Shishya of yours, who is the son of the king of Drupada. And so the son of Drupada, the king Drupada, and look at this, his brilliance. And his brilliance has not translated. He learnt everything from you and he is ready to wage the war against you. Look at this. This is how this was Duryodhana's modus operandi. Atra shura maheshvasaha.
Atra shura maheshvasaha.
Bhimarjuna samayudhi.
Bhimarjuna samayudhi.
Yuyudhano viratascha.
Yuyudhano viratascha.
Drupadascha maharathaha.
Drupadascha maharathaha.
Drishtaketuschekitanaha.
Drishtaketuschekitanaha.
Kashirajascha viryavan.
Kashirajascha viryavan.
Purujit kunti bhojascha.
Purujit kunti bhojascha.
Shaivyascha narapungavaha.
Shaivyascha narapungavaha.
Yudhamanyuscha vikrantaha.
Yudhamanyuscha vikrantaha.
Uttamaujascha viryavan.
Uttamaujascha viryavan.
Saubhadro draupadeyascha.
Saubhadro draupadeyascha.
Sarva eva maharathaha.
Sarva eva maharathaha.
Atra means here. All these Maha Ishvasaha, Maheshvasaha means the great wielders of archery. Maheshvasa means the people who can manage to ride the chariot or the horse, manage the reins, take out the bow from the quiver, and sometimes they take out 4 or 5 and then load them up, and then one after the other they are called Maheshvasaha, skilled in archery. So Atra Shuraha, all these brave people. Who are these brave people? All of them are Maheshvasaha. You know, they gather and send out arrows faster than a bouquet of flowers, and faster than picking wild flowers. They will send the arrows out, and then they are all, each one of them are equal to Bhima and Arjuna in the battle Yudhi. So in the battle they are all equal to Bhima and Arjuna. Why are these two mentioned? Arjuna because of the Maheshvasa and Bhima because of the sheer strength and the size. Skill and size both count. And don't think that Bhima alone is like this. Of course they are not all as tall and as strong, but they are almost there. And of course, no one is as skilled in the war as Arjuna, but they are close. Shuraha. And then these are all, each one of them, they are all very skilled in the battle. And besides, they are all Maharathaha. Look at the last word in the 4th verse, and then the last word in the 6th verse is repeated. Sarve eva Maharathaha. And then here, this Yuyudhanaha, and this one, Virat Raja, Drupada, all these are called Maharathas. And then further, Yudhamanyuhu and Vikrantaha and Uttamaujas, and all of them are also called Maharathaha. So here, the Yuyudhanaha is Satyaki, I think. Yeah. So these are the people here we called Maharathas. So there were 3 kinds of medals of valor that were given. First is Ratha. Ratha means the chariot riding person who can vanquish 1,000 people. Whilst you should not lose the chariot, lose your footing and lose your seat or your position in the chariot. While managing the chariot, you should be able to vanquish 1,000 to 9,000 was called Ratha. Maharatha is 10,000 to 99,000. Then we have Atiratha, 100,000 onwards. These are the 3 kind of titles of valor for fighting in ancient India. So basically, nothing much to talk about here. He's listing these eminent kings, and all these kings, this one, Chaikitana, and Kunti Bhoja, another brother of, Kunti, one brother of Kunti, and Uttamaujaha, and then the sons of Subhadra and Draupadi. All these people, he's listing the stalwarts, the leaders of each formation, and saying that, look, none of them are unequal to Arjuna and Bhima. They don't think that because the army is small, let us not be fooled. Even though we have a big army, let us not be complacent here. That's what he's trying to say. And he's also saying, sarcastically, oh, look at them. They were all your Shishyas. What are they doing on that side now? And so like this, he's talking to the Acharya, Drona, at the beginning of the battle. More about their names and their little bios we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. There are some English books